Before we begin, take a breath. This isn't just a podcast, it's a new way to think, speak, and live in English. Welcome to Coffluent Podcast, where words flow, confidence grows, and every sip brings you closer to fluency.
I love that. So true.
Right. So what if everything you were taught in school about, how to be a quote-unquote good student or a reliable professional was actually a perfectly engineered blueprint for a miserable life?
It's a huge paradigm shift.
It really is. Today, we are taking a deep dive into why being a good professional might actually be the absolute fastest way to completely kill your career.
Yeah, we're unpacking a really fascinating set of materials today from a highly successful educator and entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And, well, his entire philosophy just takes a sledgehammer to conventional career advice.
It totally does. And whether you're listening right now as an employee, a freelancer, or an aspiring business owner, this deep dive is going to challenge basically everything you think you know about getting ahead.
Exactly. And the premise he builds everything on, it starts with a very stark look at how we actually make money. Aside from passive investing, he categorizes the entire working world into three distinct paths. So first, you are either an employee, meaning you answer to a boss and collect a steady paycheck.
Makes sense.
Or second, you're a freelancer, where you jump from project to project. Or third, you're a business owner, where you are essentially building the entire ship yourself.
Okay, so employee, freelancer, business owner.
Right. But the specific path you choose actually matters far less than the universal rule that governs all three of them.
And that universal rule is really what we are drilling into today, because whether you are writing code for a tech giant or freelancing as a graphic designer or opening a local coffee shop, the secret to maximizing your income and your happiness is terrifyingly simple.
It is. You have to be outstanding.
But, and this is crucial, we need to define that word carefully, right?
Absolutely. Because it does not mean outstanding in that vague, corporate sense of just hitting your quarterly KPIs or getting a little gold star from your manager.
Right, like exceeding expectations on a performance review.
Yeah.
That's not it.
No, not at all. He takes the word incredibly literally. To be outstanding means to literally stand out.
Stand out, literally.
Yes. It means being obviously, undeniably, almost visually different from everyone else in your field. Think about the actual economic mechanism at play here. If you do not stand out, well, you're normal.
Yeah.
And when you are normal, you are easily replaceable.
Right. Basic supply and demand.
Exactly. If the supply of people who can do exactly what you do is virtually infinite, the market will only ever pay you normal, average wages.
It's like, think about walking down the cereal aisle in a massive grocery store.
Oh, yeah. Great analogy.
You're looking at a shelf packed with 50 identical boxes. Same color, same ingredients, same generic promises printed on the cardboard.
Right. They all blend together.
Exactly. If you are an employee who follows all the rules and acts exactly like the 50 other programmers or designers in your department, you are just another box on that shelf.
Yeah.
Why would a company ever reach past the other 49 boxes and pay a massive premium for you? I mean, they won't.
They absolutely won't. But stepping off that shelf feels incredibly dangerous to most people. And that's because of how we are conditioned.
Oh, definitely.
The source material uses a really great pop culture reference here, actually. He argues that most people are basically blue-pilled in their careers.
Blue-pilled, like taking the blue pill in the Matrix.
Precisely that.
So choosing to stay asleep in a comfortable, fake reality rather than waking up to the messy, uncomfortable truth.
That's it. In the workplace, being blue-pilled means believing the illusion that blind obedience leads to extraordinary success.
But it doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
And we didn't just invent this fear of standing out, It was drilled into us for over a decade. The modern educational system is fundamentally a compliance factory.
Wow. A compliance factory. That's a heavy way to put it.
But it's true, right? You are rewarded for sitting still, performing for the teacher, memorizing the rubric, and above all, following directions without questioning them.
Right. Doing something weird or unexpected in school doesn't get you a promotion. It gets you sent to the principal's office.
Exactly. You internalize that fear. You learn that survival means blending in. Don't do anything strange. Don't speak too loudly. Just pass the test and move on to the next grade.
And then we take that exact same terrified, compliant mindset and just drag it right into our adulthood.
Yep. Into our cubicles, into our startup pitches, everywhere.
And the adult business world has a very specific mechanism for enforcing that lingering fear, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Once you leave the classroom, Conformity is maintained through one incredibly powerful, wildly overused word,
Which is,
professional.
yes, professional.
The educator in our source material actually has a deep, almost visceral hatred for how this word is weaponized today.
Wait, hatred. Really?
Yes, because when a corporate manager tells you to be professional, they're rarely asking for higher quality work.
Right. They're asking you to be boring. They're basically asking you to put on a mask.
Exactly. They were demanding beige conformity. Being professional usually translates to, well, hiding your true emotions, stifling your genuine enthusiasm, speaking in meaningless corporate jargon.
Oh, I hate the jargon.
We all do. It's about stripping away any quirk that makes you a unique human being. So the source's counter strategy is extreme sincerity.
Extreme sincerity. I like the sound of that.
Yeah. The people who command the highest premiums in any market do the exact opposite of blending in. They locate their unique, bizarre strong points and magnify them until it becomes blindingly obvious how different they are.
There is a really vivid example of this in the materials that perfectly illustrates the mechanics of this extreme sincerity.
Oh, the fitness guy.
Yeah. It's a fitness personality on YouTube named Cole Robinson. He's the guy behind the snake diet.
Right, right.
If you look at the fitness industry, I mean, it is just drowning in professionalism. You know, perfect lighting, polite smiles, gentle encouragement, very sterile clinical advice.
Very safe.
Very safe. And then you have this guy, Cole.
Cole Robinson is a masterclass in this concept. His presentation style shatters literally every rule of corporate professionalism.
Totally shatters it.
I mean, he swears aggressively. He doesn't start his videos with a polite greeting. He usually starts by just screaming at the camera.
Yeah, it's intense.
Very. He is visibly, authentically enraged by the medical establishment and the junk food industry. And his raw, unfiltered emotion is exactly what creates his massive value.
But wait, I have to play devil's advocate here. If he is screaming and swearing at his audience, why hasn't he been canceled or just ignored?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Because that breaks every rule of business we've ever been taught. Unless is breaking the rule the actual strategy.
The contrast is the mechanism. In an industry completely full of fake, polished smiles, his anger signals pure authenticity to the viewer. You might hate his delivery, but you never doubt that he genuinely believes what he is saying. People are starved for sincerity.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. Because he is so raw, he completely stands out. And then add to that the fact that he possesses incredibly deep practice knowledge about extreme fasting protocols.
So the expertise backs up the crazy presentation.
Exactly. And suddenly, his lack of professionalism becomes magnetic.
And it's not just a strategy for loud YouTube personalities either. The source points out how this exact same mechanism works at a massive corporate scale too.
Oh, definitely.
Look at Apple in the late 90s and early 2000s under Steve Jobs.
Classic example.
Microsoft was the ultimate professional company. Monolithic, beige, safe, and just completely boring. Apple didn't try to out-professional Microsoft.
No, they went the other way.
Right. Their literal motto was think different. They leaned into simple, rebellious, highly opinionated design, and that sheer contrast eventually allowed them to dominate.
It's a powerful strategy.
But hold on, I do have a pushback here. Ignoring weaknesses entirely sounds like terrible advice.
How so?
Well, if I'm an incredible graphic designer, but I keep missing my deadlines because I'm terribly disorganized, I can't just ignore my lack of organization, right? Doesn't extreme sincerity mean I still have to fix the stuff I'm bad at?
You would think so, but actually, the source material pushes back hard on the idea of becoming well-rounded. Yeah. You only have a finite amount of energy. If you spend 80% of your energy trying to bring your weaknesses up to just an average level, you have no fuel left to make your strengths truly world-class.
Oh, wow.
You end up being just okay at everything, which puts you right back on that crowded grocery store shelf.
Right back in the beige box.
Exactly. The Educators gives a great personal example regarding this, actually.
Right, his approach to teaching writing.
Yes. People constantly beg this educator to teach English writing. There's a huge market for it. But his response is a flat, uncompromising no.
He just refuses.
He hates teaching writing. He knows that doing it effectively requires tedious one-on-one correction, which completely conflicts with his passion and his business model.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So instead of trying to be a balanced teacher who offers everything, he ignores writing entirely. He doubles down purely on what he loves, speaking, listening, and analyzing deep, complex ideas.
I see this dynamic constantly, honestly. The teachers or creators who stick strictly to the safe, approved curriculum are struggling to get by, while the ones doing highly unconventional stuff are thriving.
Totally.
Our source teaches language using incredibly strange philosophical topics, like breaking down the psychological themes of the Matrix or exploring the political allegory of Animal Farm.
Right.
Most conventional teachers avoid those subjects like the plague because they are terrified of alienating students.
And that fear of alienation brings us to the core engine of this entire philosophy.
Which is?
When you stop pretending to be a beige professional, when you lean heavily into your sincere, weird, authentic interests, you're going to make some people very angry.
Yeah, that's inevitable.
The source views this not as a risk, but as a mandatory strategy. He calls it polarization.
So if leaning into your weirdness makes you stand out, you suddenly become visible. And when you are visible, you become a target.
You cannot spark fierce loyalty without simultaneously sparking intense dislike. The worst possible outcome for your career is that everyone likes you just a little bit.
Because if everyone thinks you are fine, you have zero leverage.
Exactly. The source argues you need to operate like a literal magnet. A magnet has a north pole and a south pole. It is physically impossible to create a magnet that only attracts.
Right, it has to repel.
By generating a gravitational pull toward a specific, dedicated group of people, you must inherently repel others.
But the haters are the ones we all obsess over. I mean, it's human nature.
Oh, for sure.
We lie awake at night sweating over the one negative comment or the one boss who criticized our unconventional approach, completely ignoring the 10 people who loved it.
And that's where you have to look at the financial reality of the haters. The source insists you must train yourself to completely ignore the envy, the jealousy, and the criticism.
Why? Just because it's bad for mental health?
Well, yes, but economically. Because the people who demand beige professionalism were never going to pay a premium for your work anyway.
Oh, that's a great point.
Their opinions are economically useless to you. By polarizing your audience, you eliminate your competition. If you are the only person teaching English through hardcore philosophy, the small percentage of students who want exactly that have nowhere else to go.
And that inelastic demand is how you charge more.
Precisely.
So this polarization mindset, it completely rewires something as universal as job hunting, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we've all been taught the quote-unquote right way to write a resume. You list your objective, you bullet point your skills, you use action verbs, and you make it as safe and inoffensive as possible.
Which guarantees it lands straight in the shredder.
Right?
Think about it. If an HR department receives 500 resumes for an open position, and 499 of them are perfectly formatted, boring list of duties, your safe resume is invisible.
Just another cereal box.
Exactly. So the source aggressively advises sending out strange, highly polarizing resumes instead.
There is a brilliant analogy from a commenter in the source material that perfectly captures the mechanism of a great resume. They wrote, "If your experience is a movie, your resume is the trailer."
I love that. That framing completely changes the goal of the document.
Right. Think about the theatrical trailer for The Matrix back in 1999.
Oh, yeah.
A generic, boring movie trailer outlines the entire plot. First this happens, then the bad guy does this, then the hero saves the day. But The Matrix trailer refused to do that.
It showed almost nothing of the plot.
Right. It just showed you a series of bizarre, mind-bending visuals. People running on walls, disappearing mouths, dodging bullets, and then just flash the words, "What is the Matrix?"
So good.
It didn't give you the answers. It engineered an intense mystery that made you desperately want to buy a ticket just to understand what you were looking at.
And that is the exact psychological trigger your resume needs to pull. A strange, polarizing resume operates as a filtering mechanism.
How so?
Well, yes, a strict traditional corporate manager will look at your weird resume, hate it, and throw it in the trash.
Which feels like a failure.
But the source argues that manager just did you a massive favor. You would have been absolutely miserable working under them anyway.
Oh, that makes sense.
But the manager who reads that bizarre resume and feels a spark of curiosity, they won't just file it away. They will call you in immediately because you broke the pattern.
But knowing that you should send a weird resume or knowing you should polarize your audience is completely different from actually doing it. Taking that action requires breaking through a massive psychological barrier.
It does. Decisiveness is the ultimate bottleneck here.
Decisiveness.
The source argues that lack of decisiveness is what traps brilliant people in miserable careers and bankrupts new entrepreneurs.
Why do we struggle with it so much?
Because we have spent so many years waiting for a teacher or a boss to give us permission, to tell us what the correct multiple choice answer is. So when we are finally handed total freedom to design our own lives, we just freeze.
We justify our misery. We tell ourselves we have to stay in a job we despise because society dictates that having 3 years of continuous employment looks stable on a LinkedIn profile.
The educator vehemently rejects that logic. Life is simply too short to surrender your time to a miserable environment just for the sake of an imaginary resume rule.
Yeah.
He shares a personal anecdote to illustrate this extreme decisiveness, actually. He once quit a new job halfway through his very first day.
Wait, his first day, like before lunch.
Literally before lunch, he sat down, realized immediately the environment was toxic and restrictive, and simply walked out the door.
Okay, I have to jump in here because that sounds entirely disconnected from reality for most people.
I know, it sounds crazy.
Walking out on your first day, quitting a job the moment you dislike it. That's easy to say if you are single and wealthy. But if you have rent, a mortgage, or kids, you can't just flip over your desk and walk out the door without a safety net.
It is a totally valid concern, and the source does not suggest driving your family into bankruptcy.
Okay, good.
The solution isn't reckless abandonment. The solution is fundamentally shifting your leverage.
Shifting your leverage.
Yes. The only reason a toxic boss has power over you is because your monthly expenses demand their specific paycheck. So the source's strategy to buy true freedom is to drastically, almost uncomfortably, slash your cost of living.
How drastically? Because making coffee at home instead of going to Starbucks isn't going to buy me the freedom to quit my job.
Oh no, the mathematics of freedom require much larger cuts.
Like what?
The entrepreneur in the source material actually bought his initial leverage by living in a van to completely eliminate rent.
A van. Wow.
Yeah. Later, he lived in a room in Thailand that cost roughly $100 a month with no hot water and no air conditioning.
That is extreme.
Even when he moved to San Francisco, which is notoriously one of the most expensive cities on earth, he sought out a tiny, cheap, shared room rather than a proper apartment.
So the goal isn't poverty. The goal is creating an overwhelming mathematical advantage.
Exactly the point. Look at the mechanics of it. If your living expenses are a fraction of the normal average, you only need to work part-time to survive.
Right.
That leaves you with dozens of free hours every week to build your own business, learn new skills, or plot your next career move.
Wow.
When you do not desperately need a full-time, high-paying salary just to service massive consumer debt and luxury rent, you become the absolute boss of your own life. Low overhead equals high courage. You can finally afford to take risks and be polarizing.
But for the listener who is thinking, I have a family, I'm definitely not moving into a van without hot water, there has to be a way to test this without blowing up your life, right? How do you take this risk safely?
The source offers a highly pragmatic middle ground to that. Build your parachute while you are still safely sitting inside the plane.
Okay, I like that.
Keep your boring job to pay the bills. Do not quit before you have a revenue stream. But use every spare minute, your lunch breaks, your evenings, your weekends, to hustle. This is when you experiment with the polarization strategy.
It's like playing poker with house money. Because your rent is covered by your boring day job, you have the psychological safety to make wild bets.
Yes.
Desperation breeds conformity, but security breeds creativity.
That is a perfect analogy. You don't have to guess what works. Test 10 completely different, bizarre Matrix trailer resumes. Track the response data.
See what hits.
Exactly. See which weird approach gets the highest callback rate.
Yeah.
Go on the interviews, secure a massive offer from a company that actually values your unconventional strengths, and then run for the door.
Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground here, but we need to address the most critical piece of this entire philosophy. We need to look at the final caveat.
Oh yes, this is very important.
Because if someone listens to this deep dive and thinks the takeaway is just act like a weird jerk at the office, they are going to crash and burn spectacularly.
This is the anchor that grounds the entire concept. Being strange, or loud, or polarizing is entirely useless on its own. If you are just being weird for the sake of being weird, you aren't an outstanding professional, you're just an annoyance.
Exactly.
The source is very clear. You must take your authentic, polarizing passion and translate it into a service that creates undeniable value for other people.
You have to find the intersection between your bizarre obsession and a real-world problem. Like if my unique, authentic self loves to sit in the corner and count blades of grass, no one is ever going to pay me for that because it doesn't solve a problem.
But if your authentic, weird obsession is staring at incredibly dense spreadsheets for 14 hours a day looking for hidden patterns, and you use that obsession to find massive tax loopholes for small businesses.
Suddenly your weirdness is incredibly lucrative.
Precisely. The snake diet guy isn't successful simply because he yells at the camera. He is successful because underneath the aggressive swearing, he possesses deep functional expertise that actively helps people lose weight and regain their health. He solves the painful problem.
So the value creation is the foundation, and the polarization is just the marketing strategy. You have to connect your unique weirdness to someone else's pain point. That is the exact moment an employer or a client will gladly reach past the 50 other boxes on the shelf and pay a premium for you.
It requires a profound level of self-awareness.
Yeah.
You have to audit your own skills, identify the things that make you unprofessional or different, and then ruthlessly ask yourself, how can this specific quirk make someone else's life easier, faster, or wealthier?
This changes everything about how we view our daily grind. I want to leave you, the listener, with a specific challenge to chew on as you go about the rest of your day.
Hmm.
Think about the mask you automatically strap onto your face the second you log into a morning Zoom call or walk through the glass doors of your office. Think about the parts of your personality you actively suppress because a teacher 20 years ago told you they were disruptive.
Ask yourself, what is one unprofessional or weird strength you've been hiding at work that might actually be your greatest economic asset if you finally stopped apologizing for it?
The very things you are exhausting yourself trying to hide are almost certainly the exact things that make you irreplaceable. It's time to start sanding down your edges. Stop trying to look like all the other generic boxes on the shelf. The market doesn't reward normal. Be outstanding. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.